So I just got back from watching the new Marvel movie Thunderbolts, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what I thought of it. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I found it to be, well, amazing! Characters were well fleshed out, the plot was quite solid, and I found myself on the edge of my seat throughout most of the film. Truly, this movie was absolute cinema. This movie was peak mountain fire, bro. One might call it a return to form. I gotcha! You see what I did there? I made it seem like I liked the movie. And then boom! You really think I could like a movie like this? Well, now it's time to get serious, I suppose. Thunderbolts is indeed a return to form. But to what form exactly? If you're looking for an example, I suppose if you looked around your house or place of residence, you might be able to find one or two, specifically in your bathroom. They're usually white and have a bowl full of water in them and a knob on the side for flushing. That would be the toilet. And in case you're not getting it, here's another example. And one more, of course. If you're sniffing what I'm stepping in, then good for you. Thunderbolts is not a good movie. It is a returning to form, but is the only form that Disney has known to make in the past years. The very same one that's been in most of their movies past Endgame and Captain Marvel. It's the only form they are committed to for some reason, and things have not changed. Now, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I did actually have some small inkling of hope for this movie. And that's me ignoring the advice I spouted from Fringy in my last video. I had actually hoped they might try to play it safe and not do anything stupid. Boy, was I wrong! But with that said, let's dive into this recent turd that Disney has put out. The intro sequence was, well, different, and that was interesting, I guess. But then the movie starts on what would appear to be a very serious tone. Yelena is sitting at the top of an incredibly high building, talking to herself with an internal dialogue. Apparently, a lot of people in this movie are schizophrenic. It's clear that she is depressed and saddened. She claims that she has a void inside of her. It's made apparently clear that she is miserable with no hope for life. There was a spark for me thinking, okay, this seems serious. But then she immediately makes a joke saying, maybe I'm just bored. Really, movie? That quick on the draw, are we? We can't even have 5 seconds of seriousness in the beginning of the film. What a great misfire. I mean, start. From there, she goes into the building and begins to just fight her way through a group of armed men without a problem, killing several of them, as if she was in fact bored, as though it was just another day. But in these fight scenes, a vast majority of all the fight scenes, the choreography is just sad and pathetic looking. She then speaks to a guy she's tied up and rescues a guinea pig, but then gets into another pathetic fight and moves around incredibly slowly, more slow than Harrison Ford in Captain America Brave New Bold Unused World, and is looking for some facial scanner. After she leaves, she blows up the building and takes the guinea pig with her. From there, our film cuts to Bucky, who is now an idiot congressman who can't even form a correct sentence, even though he's over 100 years old and it's been known that he's an avid reader. How does this guy even become a congressman with his lack of being able to form a few simple sentences? He apparently must have early onset Alzheimer's. I wish I had Alzheimer's after watching this movie. The scene then goes to Valentina, who is being impeached and reviewed by a court as she is the director of the CIA for supposed illegal human ear experimentation to make superheroes. All I could think of was how much better handled the courtroom scene from Iron Man 2 was handled, where Tony denied the use of his suit. This scene with Valentina severely lacked a realism, and it came across as empty and soulless. It seemed like there was little to no research done on how a meeting like this would actually go. I hate to say this, but even the scene from Falcon and Winter Soldier where John Walker was on trial was better than this. Yelena then goes to see her loudmouthed, annoying father, who can't take anything serious and is only there to be a support, at times. He's apparently a limo driver of some kind. But don't worry, there's a major payoff coming from this. He claims to be enjoying his life, but when Yelena says she wants to quit working for Valentina, Red Guardian gets annoyed and then tells her how much he really actually hates his life and how he in fact wants to work for Valentina too. Yelena gets serious for a moment, surprisingly, and then gets told by her dad that she should take up the now dead sister Natasha Romanoff's mantle of hero. What? Yelena is not a hero. According to the beginning of this film, she's really a villain. She's a bad guy working for a shady, bad person. She's depressed with her job, so suddenly she thinks being a hero will fix it all for her? She can't just suddenly convert to being a hero like that. That's not how you develop a character at all. That makes no freaking sense. She wants to make such a drastic change, but it doesn't even seem to be taken seriously. It's like buying a Tesla that you know you can't afford. You're making massive, huge, life-changing financial decisions so casually. A drastic change such as this without real intent and desire to change cannot work. That's not how people operate. Now maybe if they showed her in the beginning of the fight scenes hesitating greatly to kill anyone, and then finally having to make the choice to kill someone, that could show an internal struggle. But she comes across as so callous that the fight scene in the hallway just comes across as though it were boring and meaningless to her, not as though they were human beings that had lives and families. Switching to be a hero requires self-sacrifice, not this selfish, oh-so-casual ambition of desiring to be a hero because you're bored or sad. I can see it now in the interview. So tell me, why do you want to be a hero? Because I'm so bored of killing people. I'm sorry, what? From there, Yelena, with her newfound motives, calls Valentina and tells her she wants to be a hero. Valentina agrees, but only if she goes on one more mission and takes out a target. I have to say this now, and I'll probably say it again. Valentina is very annoying. The woman does not at all come across as a threat or as a villain. She comes across as an imbecile. When I watch her on screen, I feel like I'm watching Elaine from Seinfeld, but without the comedy soundtrack in the background. Yelena goes to the site and follows her target, Ghost. Yeah, you remember her from The Wasp and Ant-Man, right? Remember all the fun stuff she's been featured in since then? Oh. You mean she wasn't? Oh, right. Anywho, Yelena tries to kill Ghost, and then John Walker and Taskmaster show up, and they all get into a fight. This fight is okay at times, but super choreographed. The movie really feels like it's desperately trying to tell you that it's grounded. But it's not. The fight continues on, and eventually Taskmaster gets killed, and then Bob shows up. Now, I especially don't get the death of Taskmaster because in some of the trailers they actually included Taskmaster at the second to last fight in the Avengers Tower. This makes me think there was a different cut of the film that included her. In fact, just from watching the entirety of the movie, it looked like there seemed to be a lot of things missing that were cut or reshot. But of course we'll move on past that to our next character assassination, John Walker. They of course jump in immediately and start claiming that he killed an innocent man. Ah, there it is. Of course we have to bring that up. Do we forget that this man was actually a member of a terrorist group who tried to kill Walker? But thankfully, he does actually get to somewhat defend himself this time, albeit quite pitifully. The group then realizes that Valentina set this whole thing up and brought them all there to kill each other, and then the doors are locked and she tries to incinerate them along with all the other evidence she's stored there. And of course, she does this by setting a 2-minute timer. How convenient. The movie also continues to make it clear how stupid they want to make John Walker. I'm deeply saddened by this because I actually have a lot of respect for this character. No matter how many times they tried to force the idea into your head that Walker was a bad guy, the actual writing defended him. He was a good and decent man. Falcon and Winter Soldier tried to make him out to be a bad guy, but he wasn't. John Walker did nothing wrong in that show. In fact, he's the only hero that is in there and is the only one that seeks to do the right thing. I hate what they've done to John Walker in this film. This movie seeks to make him a punching bag for everyone else. He's now been made into a pathetic, ego-driven, idiotic, selfish jerk whose family has now left him. He's incomparable to who he formerly was. But yet, they still give him incredibly reasonable and decent moments, and the writers try to use this as an opportunity to once again turn him into the group punching bag, with the exception of Red Guardian, of course. But anyways, back to the scene. They get out just in time as the room explodes and Yelena wakes up in a boo-hoo memory of her past. I plan to address these moments all at the end of the video, but for now I'm going to continue calling them boo-hoo memories. She realizes that she was touching Bob's hand, and she sees that he also seems disturbed. The two of them go off to talk after they try to make it even more clear how awful John Walker is. They start discussing their trauma, and Yelena says it feels like she has a... And then Bob finishes by saying void in her.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
The film then shows that Bucky at some point tries to get Valentina's assistant to join him in a very unconvincing manner, because he's stupid. You get it? Haha, Bucky's an idiot. You see what they're doing? You get it? And for some reason later on, she agrees to help him. I don't get this. Why? Bucky didn't do a good job convincing you, and you make that clear. But also, Valentina has not really shown herself to be mistreating this woman. Back to the other group, they come upon a large cylindrical shaft, the elevator shaft, and they decide to climb up at Emperor's New Groove style because it's not working. And I will say I didn't really have a problem with this scene. It is a solution, and it's not the worst idea, but there's definitely other solutions that they could have used to get through this situation. Valentina and her assistant then get into a limo and discuss all of their evil, devious plans and her desire to kill Yelena. And of course, Red Guardian hears this because he's driving a limo. Because he's a limo driver. You see? It's such a huge and great payoff. Wow! We then cut back to our main group as they're climbing up, and of course they have some light and humorous bickering. They get to the top, and instead of getting up as close as they can, they decide to wait several feet below it. Why? Why not go as close as you can and then everyone let John Walker grab a hold of the door and lift everyone up? He does have super soldier serum, so it would not be far from him in his capabilities to do it. Instead, they say he's a selfish jerk as he grabs the baton from Yelena and uses it to grab the door. And then Bob begins to fall and Yelena catches him with her grappling hook. Her what? You mean to tell me she's had a grappling hook this entire time and chooses not to use it or even suggest it? That would be so helpful. Instead, then Walker gets everyone out when he could have just left, and everyone calls him a selfish jerk. As Walker helps Bob up the elevator shaft, Walker sees a boo-hoo memory from his own past. Then everyone escapes just as Valentina arrives to collect Bob, who she didn't know was a successful test subject for her new enhanced human experiment until she saw him on the video camera in the basement. The group escapes through stupid means while Bob decides to distract the army and then gets turned into Swiss cheese. It's revealed he has powers from there, and then he shoots up into the air and then falls back down to the ground and gets captured by Valentina because he's knocked out. The group, now reduced to 3, Walker, Yelena, and Ghost, go wandering throughout the desert where they finally meet up with Red Guardian in his limo service. Red Guardian gets there and of course yells and screams in ridiculous manner for Yelena not to go and that it's a trap when it's obvious she is no longer in harm's way. This scene's only purpose is to once again convey this man to be an utter embarrassment and joke. This is yet another moment in the entire film where the movie fails its potential. If they took Red Guardian seriously, they could have some really wonderful interactions between a father and daughter. It would be really wonderful to see the fact that the two of them are reconnecting in very good and serious heartfelt manners rather than Red Guardian's just a moron. From there, Red Guardian drives them off and they get chased by the military. This scene was way too long. And finally, Bucky shows up and stops them from being killed by the military. And who could have guessed? Bucky is utilized in dumb, unrealistic ways. This man was the Winter Soldier, a master assassin. He purposely blew out the tire of Howard Stark's car, and instead in this scene, he gets a shotgun and shoots out the winch cable of the Army Hummer so it could somehow fall out onto the road and he could grab it and yank it into the ground, flipping the Hummer. This is so dumb! My brain is breaking! Just shoot the tire! The tire, man! It was right there! It then goes to Valentina and Bob. Valentina wants to use Bob as the next superhero and convinces him to join her. She tells him that he is special and that she knows everything about him, even his harsh past with his father, which Bob then stops her from completing. This one scene I did appreciate to a small degree, but it was a tiny shine in a massive steaming pile of manure. Bucky has now apparently somehow captured everyone and even has special cuffs for Ghost. How does he have these? Where'd he get them? But how unreasonable of me to expect that explanation. The group try to warn Bucky of the new threat, Bob. During this conversation, Valentina's assistant contacts Bucky again and tells him about Bob. And with all that said, they set off to stop Valentina and rescue Bob. Valentina is then shown to be training Bob, and she tells him that he can do anything. I don't know if they're truly being serious about this or not, but I find it deeply concerning if they really do mean Bob can do anything. The team finally arrives to break into Valentina's new place, which just so happens to be the old Avengers Tower. What a nice callback to the good times. I also noticed they cut out Bucky's scream from the trailer as he drove into the front of the building. But anyways, the group meet up and face down Bob, who is now Sentry. Yelena tells Bob that he doesn't have to do this and that she knows him. No, she doesn't. She's known him for a total of an hour or so. That doesn't mean you know someone at all. The group then fight Sentry, and of course they each fight him one at a time, and each one gets their butts kicked. I noted that the CGI in this particular scene was very bad, and the choreography was even worse. They then get back to the elevator and flee as Valentina tells them that Bob will kill them all. But for some reason, as soon as they get outside the building, they decide to stop and talk. Why would you stop and talk? It's been made apparently clear to all of them that it's an incredibly powerful being is going to be coming after them, and you all thought it was now a good time to call a team meeting? Why? You should all be running for your lives.
Abandon your post! Flee for your lives!
Bob then has a confrontation with Valentina and she tries to kill him with her kill switch, but he sees this and stops her. Valentina's assistant then comes and activates the kill switch, killing Bob. But I still didn't even get this. Where was the kill switch located? It would be interesting to know in what way it was going to kill Bob. Was a detonator placed inside his brain? Did he have some shock thing on his heart? What was it and where? Bob then revives and turns into Depressed Bob, or the Void, an alternate personality of him. Meanwhile, downstairs, our group has had a fight and decided to split up. Red Guardian follows Yelena. They actually were just beginning to seem like they had a serious scene after they split up, and I was actually quite pleased with this. Though I have such little context or care for it, it felt like a serious scene between the two as father and daughter. But then they once again ruin it with a joke as Yelena goes, "Yeah, that was pretty good." Please stop this! I'll probably be saying it again later, but this feels super meta, and I hate it! This moment had potential, and it was such a relief to finally see a serious Red Guardian who actually seemed to be playing the role of a father. But still, we have the problem of Yelena suddenly wanting to be a hero. Again, this makes no sense. Depressed Shadow Bob, or the Void, then comes and begins to wreak havoc on New York, sending people to the Shadowland. As stuff begins to collapse from a helicopter crash, the group returns and begins to help and save people as a team. Eventually, Yelena, for reasons still unknown to me, decides to jump into the Shadow World. I don't get this either. Why? Does she still want to kill herself? Or does she know what will happen? She just had a talk with her dad and they had a good conversation and she said, "Yeah, that was pretty good." How could she possibly know what her motivations are? I guess we won't, though. The others, though, decide to go in after her based on John Walker telling them he had a weird thing happen to himself when he touched Bob's arm when he was helping him up the elevator shaft. How does he know what will happen? This is a terrible conclusion to draw. We don't know the extent of Bob's powers. What if everyone was sent to the lava land or something? We have absolutely no idea where they went. Yelena is now in Oogie Boogie Shadowland and is fighting her boo-hoo memories when she finally finds Bob. They get help from the rest of the group after they show up to help fight off the boo-hoo memories. Bob then fights the shadow version of himself, but then gets a big old hug from the group and he has himself a good cry. Good grief, this movie is so bad. They then get popped out of the Boogie Oogie dimension and chase Valentina, through a tarp curtain and discover she's hosting a press conference and is saying they are the new heroes, the new Avengers. What happened to the old Avengers? Why won't anyone address this? And why would you want to work with or even for Valentina? She literally tried to kill all of you at multiple points and even weaponized the most powerful one of you against everyone. And it caused him to turn evil and sad for a bit, which almost destroyed all of New York. Why would you ever want to be associated with her in any way? I would be immediately skeptical of her, expecting her to be forming some awful plan to kill us all sooner or later. I would have no trust for her in the slightest. Speaking of Bob is a huge danger to everyone and needs to be immediately locked up or put away somewhere safe or even be destroyed. He needs to be neutralized. Bob is more unstable than Wanda Maximoff, and that's saying a lot. Last time she got unhappy, she took over an entire town and almost killed everyone, and then turned evil and almost destroyed the multiverse. So I'd hate to see what happens next time Bob's having a rough day at the office. There are 2 post-credit scenes in this movie, unfortunately, and I really wanted it to be over sooner than this, but onward we go. The first one involves Red Guardian trying to convince a lady at the store to buy the Wheaties cereal that he is now on. I did get a small smile from this scene, but that's the most this movie got out of me. I did not laugh once during this miserable, torturous film. This was not peak fire, bro. The next post-credit scene is much longer and involves them talking about how they are getting sued by Sam Wilson for copyright infringement. I don't even have words for this anymore. Sam is suing them! He is suing them? This movie's gonna give me a brain aneurysm! Who made him de facto leader of the Avengers? Why does he care? Did he speak to the other Avengers about this? This movie is so confusing about this. Where are the Avengers? It claims they no longer exist, but why? It was never made clear that they split up. In fact, it was quite the opposite after the second battle with Thanos in Endgame. Who gave him the right to sue them? Who made him de facto leader? How would that work when Bucky was also a member as well? Why would he sue them when the Avengers apparently don't even exist? Wouldn't he be glad to know that they finally have a new team together? Why wouldn't he try to draw them into the fold instead? How would that pull everyone together during the next big threat? And it's already made clear that the next big threat is well on its way because Yelena says that space is shrinking. So why would you focus on suing the group that took up the mantle that you were unwilling and unable to put together? If Sam had such a huge issue with this, why didn't he form his own team sooner? It's apparent that he really didn't care to before, but now he suddenly wants to. Is it jealousy? Wouldn't you want to work together? Aren't Sam and Bucky supposed to be friends? Red Guardian makes one good comment in this scene. He says regarding Sam, he is a very stupid man. That's rich coming from him, but he's right. Why is Sam suing them for copyright infringement? What does he get from this? Is it just money? Is it because he can't get a loan for his stupid sister's boat? Apparently, after he didn't get that loan for his sister's boat, he must have gotten really greedy. I mean, how else does he afford his Captain America lair but through copyright? But the copyright stuff wasn't even in Falcon and Winter Soldier. You're telling me that these two, Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, fought side by side in several major conflicts, and the thing that is dividing them now is Sam Wilson's greediness? Because he can't afford the loan for the boat? What the heck? Wow, Captain America. Yeah, self-sacrificing Captain America. More like Captain Corporate America. I mean, Thanos was a big threat, but not getting that loan, that was really life-changing. The snap was tiddlywinks, apparently, compared to the tragedy of not getting a loan. But another question that arises is, why would Bucky even want to stay with these people? Wasn't his disdain for all of them quite clear earlier? It seemed more like he was willing to help them out of necessity, but not out of a desire to be associated with them. I did not once get the feeling that Bucky actually liked or enjoyed these people. Enough of that rant, though. At the end of the end credits, they pull up satellites and see that the spaceship of the Fantastic Four is approaching, and that's the end. And then the movie ended, and I finally felt free. Free from this wretched, awful, inconsistent movie. Well, with that out of the way, I suppose it's now time to address the major elephant in the room. The trauma. The trauma in this movie felt very much like it was being used as a badge of some kind, as if to wave in people's faces that it was a movie with heavy and dark themes. It seemed more to me like it was trying to justify itself. It felt forced, and it did not come across as sincere. There were very little moments that I actually felt the weight of the things that occurred in the trauma scenes, and in reality I felt insulted, because it seemed more to me like they were trying to use it to stop people from speaking up against it. You cannot weaponize people's grief and traumatic experience. That is sordid gain, blood money. You don't get to use it unless you earn it, and this movie did not earn a single coin of it. You used characters that were all minor players in other TV shows and movies. I didn't feel like I could really connect with any of these characters. Everything in this movie felt hollow and empty. I found it to be forgettable. And the entire thing came across as extremely meta. The movie flaunts around serious tones as if it has them to use, but then ruins them quickly with levity and jokes. It's the same stuff Marvel has been known for doing, and it's quite annoying. It's like the movie couldn't make up its mind on whether or not it wanted to be serious and dark or funny and lighthearted. These flashbacks came more across as little Easter eggs to be found more than character development. I found the characters in this film to be incredibly inconsistent to their limited histories and their roles even in the movie. They act like idiots most of the time, and I actually found that watching their interactions was closer to how I've seen 4-year-olds interact. Speaking of 4-year-olds, that was my only impression of Yelena's character throughout this movie. Her performance comes across as phoned in. Do you like characters that are incredibly inconsistent? Well then, this is the movie for you. The sad truth of it is that this movie had a great deal of potential. There was a lot of elements that could have made this into something good. They had a gold mine here for storytelling, and it's like they decided to place TNT inside a shaft and destroy it before they could go anywhere near it. I know this video was a little on the longer side, but I felt that this movie needed the deep dive to show its inexcusable problems. Besides myself, there were 4 other people in the theater. That's not a good sign. But what's even stranger is this movie was said to be a return to form and is receiving a great deal of positive attention, which I find saddening. How could this film at all be receiving positive reviews?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Once again, such true words spoken. There are maybe a few crumbs to enjoy from this movie, but they nowhere near make up for the horrible inconsistencies that are in this film. This is one of the new movies on Marvel's list after they supposedly left all the DEI filth behind. I think it's now even more apparent that things have not changed, and I think that it will be a long time before they ever will. Between this movie and the Fantastic Four, I actually found myself a little more excited for this one, and with this movie being quite terrible, I do not think that it would be reasonable to expect the Fantastic Four to be any better either. So don't unbuckle that seatbelt, dear viewer, because this is going to stay bumpy. With that all said and done though, I think I will be bringing this video to a close now. Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or criticisms that you'd like to leave, feel free to put them below. Have a great day and God bless you.